in the Kowalski residence.
Oh, that's right. Are you leaving town like tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm leaving town as soon as I can organize the chaos, and I'm getting my house kind of. Well, first I'm preparing for the hunting season, which I have a long way to go there. I have a
Right.
lot more meals to pack. I have a lot of work to do. More work's cut out for me. And then I also, amongst that, need to kind of tidy up and at least get a few rooms and make them like crystal clean because one of my friends is going to be staying at my house for a few weeks in September because I'm going to be up in the woods. So I need to make it, inhabitable for someone other than myself. I mean, I keep it pretty clean and organized, but it's a different thing if someone's like coming and renting your house from you. So
Oh yeah, my house gets a special cleaning anytime I have a visitor. The you got to give the house a deep clean. You don't want
yeah,
people to think you're a slob. You
of
know,
course, of course.
I mean, spoiler, I am a slob for the most part, but so be it. Where are you going exactly?
Well, I can't tell you that, or I'd have to kill you. Um, but I'll be going to the mountains of Colorado, probably about 3.5 hours from here being Denver. And wow, man, this past weekend I took my truck to a couple like potential locations, and I swear, yesterday afternoon I was in such a bad spot. Like I was on this crazy dirt road that had turned into this insane rock crawling thing. I had no service. It was just me and the two dogs, dwindling gas, and I thought for sure I was gonna like hit a rock and break something on the car where I'd have to get rescued, but I have no idea who would rescue me. Like, and what would they do? They'd like come up and get me and the dogs, and then just be like, "All right, that truck will just stay here." I
Right.
was really really worried. It was a very tense detour for a few hours there, and then I didn't actually kiss it, but when I got back to the pavement, I literally like you should have seen me. Like I pulled up, I got on pavement, and just went, oh.
Man.
Like it was the most tense driving situation I've ever been in. And then of course this morning I had a shop down in Colorado Springs install full basically body armor skid plates on the underneath of the car. One day too late, I might add, but
Yeah.
better late than never.
See, it's what happens. You get rid of the Tesla.
I know. I know. I can put it to you this way. I was driving on roads that a lot of people with like lifted Jeeps probably wouldn't even go on, but I was really surprised at how well it did. And of course I saw precisely zero elk on that particular loop because it turned into like, all right, let me see if I can get to this spot. And then it just turned into, let's see if I can get off this mountain before tomorrow. and yeah, but I'm really excited. This is the most prepared I think I've ever been for elk season. I'm gonna go up to my buddy's house in Eagle, Colorado. I'm gonna spend a couple days there, and then we are going to go live in the mountains for a couple weeks, maybe a month. Who knows?
How much hiking do you do when you're on these hunting trips? You get like you like have to go deep in the woods for elk, or you stay relatively close?
Oh yeah, I was deep. On any given day, like last year, I was averaging about 10 miles a day.
Hmm.
Up to some of the days I had like there was a couple days that were 15 milers,
Wow.
and that's with a heavy pack and carrying a bow, and it's gnarly. It's like over the next month I will get so lean for Wadapalooza, and of course I'll gain it all back, but like at the end of this month I'll be a little skinny, but I'll be ripped because you just burn so many calories. And even though I actually have pre-packaged bags, and I'll go grab one here in a second. I actually have pre-packaged bags filled with like 3,100 calories. Each bag has like all my bars and meals and stuff like that, and I like weigh and measure it all. 3,100 calories, and it's like almost a job to eat that much in the mountains. But still, even eating that much, I'll still lose weight.
That's like a normal Tuesday for me. Come on, what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah. I mean, it's one thing when you're like sitting around at a computer doing banking stuff, obviously. Uh, but it what I find is like when you're on these missions, when you're hiking, when you're moving, it's like it's kind of difficult. It's you can't just like sit in a chair and bacon pizza and chicken nuggets like I just ate, which was definitely a meal. It was cauliflower pizza, so there were vegetables.
Oh,
Um, but you can't just do that because you're like moving, you're looking, you have a mission. So like food is almost a distraction sometimes. So you have to remind yourself to eat. So that's why I have those bags. It's like I know that if I get back to camp at night and I haven't finished every last calorie in that bag, I just gotta force feed it.
well, let's talk about nutrition because I wanted to talk about that. We're going to talk about training and training for competing or training versus competition, however you want to view it, and kind of break it down. But part of that's nutrition, and I've been training for Wadapalooza. That apparently you're going to come in and one up me with your 12-pack. You're just calling your shot now, but
No, just kidding. By the time Wadapalooza rolls up, I'll be properly bulked again.
you're just gonna be walking around with the shirt off all week. Of course, most of the people do Wadapalooza, so I guess we wouldn't make you unique. But anyway, yeah. So I've started training for the gauntlet because it's a long workout and it's gonna be the heat, and I'm old AF. So part of that is nutrition and counting macros. And damn, man, like I'm gonna round up to 2,200 calories a day is kind of my calorie count, and we'll talk about the macros in a minute.
Mhm.
But it's hard to get 2,200 calories when you're eating really, really clean, like chicken and rice. You know what I mean? Broccoli, like it's tough. And so I'm like trying to imagine 3,100 calories based on my current diet. Going, man, I don't know if I could do it.
It's definitely calorically dense food. Like I have some like perfect foods bars. I mean, those are like 370 calories a pop. Everything I eat, like actually, I just got these Justin's. What is it?
Oh, I
Chocolate
love those.
hazelnut.
Yeah,
Like
almond butters and
this right here is 200 calories just in this little tiny packet. So I literally have a spreadsheet of basically like calories per ounce, or it's like 100 calories per ounce or something like that, where I literally have calculated like what is the densest food. So lots of high fat. Honestly, getting protein is a little bit harder because there's less calories per gram of protein. But yeah, lots of fat, lots of carbs, and I do have an adequate amount of protein. And yeah, eating is almost a full-time job. I mean, specifically for like, like bodybuilders, like really, really big muscular bodybuilders and power lifters. I mean, eating is honestly part of the job. Sumo wrestlers is another one. I went to a sumo camp when I was living in Tokyo and like taught you what they do, and it's essentially sleep, eat, train. That's it. And eating is one of the most difficult things that they can do because in order for them to get up to 400 pounds, maybe 450, like they have to just eat all the time. If they're not training or sleeping, they are eating some sort of food. It's crazy.
I need that life.
You think so, but then it does get old. I'm sure it gets old.
It does get old. I get when I eat poorly, which I'm not gonna play innocent like I eat great because I loves me some pizza. But man, there's just always that, you don't want to get off the couch feeling. You know what I mean? It's the worst.
Mhm.
Which is why when I'm eating clean, I have a lot more energy. So I'm gonna get back to the training thing. So I'm on this nutrition plan, and I felt like it was the first thing I needed to go compete at Wadapalooza. Like if I'm really gonna put my best effort, I've got to make sure I've got the right fuel in my body.
Yeah, and here's why this is especially important for the fuel. I don't want to interrupt, but like
Mhm.
the for everyone listening, if you don't know, the competition at Wadapalooza is unique because it is literally a 1 hour. I'm pretty sure that's what they allot to it. It's
Yep.
1 hour of exercise, and within that 1 hour, they squeeze 7 workouts, 7 different tests, and they're not all like 4 minute tests here. Like I remember there was a Metcon where I think you were allotted 20 minutes. So like you have long Metcons, you have weightlifting, you have high skill gymnastics, you have single modality things like assault bike sprints and ridiculous things of that nature. So for anyone who doesn't know, it's not just a traditional competition where you have maybe like 3 workouts spread over a given day. This is all of the workouts squeezed into a 1 hour window. So it's very unique in that respect.
Yeah, it's brutal, and it's really brutal. I was thinking of you when I was looking to workouts this week because I
No.
was looking at, yes, you did it obviously and did very well, and it's such a tough workout because last year they did like a 3-rep overhead squat max, and then you had like a little, I forget what it was, but there's like a little 9-minute Metcon after that. And then you had to do 2-minute all out sprint on the Echo bike.
Yeah, take
And
a
then,
wild guess what my worst score was.
yeah, and then, which I think is smart, by the way. And then the next workout was like an 18-minute something. I'm like, man, that is just relentless.
It was.
It absolutely just real. And, then there was another thing after that. It was just dumb. So my mindset was,
There was like 4 more things after that. Like,
yeah, well, it was a lot of stuff, which is why I didn't do it.
Bar workout, bar muscle ups, handstand push-ups. I mean, handstand walks. It was. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised at how much fun I had.
Well, your boy here decided I was, if I'm going to do it, I have to eat right. Like, it's kind of that simple. It's like any other, training. Like I've run a marathon, I've run a couple of marathons or half marathons and one marathon, and there's a lot of food that goes into that, and it's very structured. And, this is, felt like the same thing to me, but I've got, essentially 90 to 120 days to be fully prepared. And my thought was, it's like, man, if I get there and my nutrition's not on point, I'm going to really look back with regret. Like that would have been the biggest mistake, because I'm not going to build enough, strength in a 90-day period to, up a snatch or clean and jerk by a significant amount of weight. You know what I mean? But this I can fix.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say actually 90 days you're knocking on the door of being able to make some pretty big strength gains. I would say, like, if that was your goal, like it's not like, I mean, you're a data guy. You tend to be prepared, right? So you're looking way in advance here. So you have a lot more flexibility with this much of a runway prior to the actual event. A lot of people, when they scramble 2 weeks before an event, they're like, "Oh, how do I increase my snatch?" It's like maybe a couple skill tweaks, but you're really not going to increase it that much. But with however many months we have until January, or I think that's when it is, right? It's January.
Mhm.
You could, I mean, obviously with the nutrition being dialed in, that helps, but you could make some pretty significant leaps and bounds, both in the strength and endurance and the skill side of things, because that's
Well,
like season.
I don't disagree with that completely, but it doesn't seem beneficial for a workout like this. So I don't think is likely to be, it's 5 workouts. So
Right.
it's like you odds you're going to have one strength thing, and then everything else is going to be sprinting and long endurance cardio. And my thought was, if I can properly fuel, get down to my my best competition weight, which is lighter than I am now. So imagine like shedding, some of the weight vest, and maintain my current strength, I'll be fine.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
Especially because I think there was in years past, and specifically the one that I did, there was definitely a pretty heavy bias to body weight. Like, yes, we had a heavy lift. All the other barbell stuff was relatively light, and it was very much skewed to the side of bodyweight gymnastics and monostructural stuff. So I
Well,
would definitely, in addition to the nutrition, I mean, one thing to practice maybe once a week or something like that is actually practice like kind of like a monster mash. I know is what some people call them. Like,
that's what my Saturday and Sunday was.
there you go.
Oh, bro. Oh my God, they were both so bad.
You throwing around with Tom and the rest of the
Yeah,
crew.
Jen and Tom. So Jen, who's owner of Chagrin Falls CrossFit, I think they're in the chat, and then Tom, my doctor. So they're handling the nutrition side. They own a company called B2 Human. We'll have them on at some point so they can talk about it firsthand. But it's more than just nutrition. Like, we're measuring, and again, I'm the data nerd, right? So we are measuring a lot of stuff over this 120-day period. We did a sweat test on Saturday. Have you ever done one of those?
No, but I hear Bean doesn't like it.
Bean does not like it, and he needs to get out of here before I pour some water on his head. He's being a jerk tonight. Anyway, it's just like a little Gatorade patch, and you wear it on your arm during your workout. And this was a longer one. This one took us it was 40 minutes, give or take. And then when you're done, you snap a photo of it with the Gatorade app, and it measures sodium loss, sweat, all of that. It's really, really cool, and gives you guidance around what your hydration plan should be for a workout like that. What the concept of these guys being, you're about to go do an hour-long workout in the Miami heat and wanting to figure out, what your proper, recovery and hydration is important, because it's along with the nutrition side. I got 120 days where I can get a rhythm with that,
Yeah.
get it right and be fully prepared. And I've made, I'm saying this from my personal experience of doing several long races and not hydrating properly and having a couple of scary moments
Oh yeah.
in live competitions. Now this one's probably won't happen, but it's still South Florida. It could
It's
be
definitely good with the. I mean, I really lucked out with my heat time last year, but it, I know Savannah did it a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and when she did it, her heat was in the middle of the day,
Ugh,
and she was doing you know burpee box jump overs on black mats on a black box in 92-degree South Florida humid. Like it was
right.
miserable just watching. Like it was actually miserable just standing there. I couldn't imagine exercising. So I do think that it's something that you can play around with. Obviously, it's going to be difficult to expose yourself to that level of humidity and heat in Cleveland, but it's definitely something that you'll be able to take into account. I mean, you're doing all the right things now. It's like, all right, what are things that could go wrong in this 1 hour time block, and how can I prevent them from going wrong? Or like, what steps can I do and take to you know, to think of all the issues and make sure that I have a backup plan. Like, will I have an extra jump rope? Will I have, because you're not going to have tons of time to like fix it, right? You have these very short transition windows. Will you have enough hydration? Will you maybe have like a little mix, carb mix in a drink or something like that? Like I would definitely, because there was a couple workouts where you had like a good 10-minute
Yeah.
rest or 5-minute rest in between stations. It was like I should have had something like that where I could have been sipping on it in the middle and just kind of like not only refueling those electrolytes, but maybe getting a little bit of carbohydrates in you, because it is a long effort, especially for CrossFitters. We're not used to working out hard for over 20 minutes, let alone an entire hour, where out of that hour, you're probably working hard for 40 minutes of it.
Well, it's been an interesting, it's only been just a few days at this point of like really measuring um macros very closely, and then this hydration protocol that they've got me on. But it's been, like the initial results, like as soon as I took that test, it was like, all right, you need to drink this much, water with electrolytes, or electrolyte drink. Keep in mind it's owned by Gatorade, so maybe that part's BS. But then it's like you should also get in, you know, X amount of protein within the next hour. So I'm leaving the gym and I go grab a Gatorade, zero sugar, I might add. You're welcome, Glassman, and a protein shake, and kind of drink them both. And I was telling Jen, the coach, this the next day. I'm like, I actually felt pretty good. Like I felt like I was recovering isn't the right word, but I felt like I was replenishing energy quicker. And so then the next day when I went to the gym and we did a second brutal, like back-to-back brutal day, it's like really long stuff you might expect at the gauntlet. I had brought a protein shake with me and did the same thing. As soon as the workout was over, protein shake. And again, like I started to feel that energy coming back far quicker than it normally does for me, because I'm the kind of guy, like I won't eat or drink anything for a couple hours after the gym usually.
Hmm.
And it's been a big difference maker for me this week. So, I've done that now the last, 4 or 5 workouts. And, I feel like from a recovery standpoint, it's really helping me.
Yeah.
Again, it's 1 week's worth of data. So
As long as you feel like it's helping.
yeah.
It's interesting because there's quite a bit of evidence, or I believe most recent evidence points that like the protein window was like far overblown, and really there isn't as much of an issue to fit in certain macronutrients in a specific window unless there's multiple efforts in that given day. For instance, like let's say you have a workout at 9 and then you have a workout at noon. It is important to kind of like basically time it as soon as you possibly can after the
Sure.
workout so that you have time to digest before the next one, so on and so forth. But bottom line is like you need to use your body and use your, like you have so much time to prepare for this hour long beat down. You don't necessarily know what all the movements and workouts are going to be, but you do know what it's kind of going to look like, and you can now use your body as like a human guinea pig and try, like what does it feel like fasted? We actually have a comment like, should I compete on a carnivore diet? You don't know until you test. Like some people do super, super long triathletes, Ironman, stuff like that, in ketosis. Like some people thrive on that. And then for other people, that would be an absolute freaking disaster for them. But you don't know until you try it. So you have a lot of time to try different things, John.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And, I don't think the app or even the nutrition coaches are saying, hey, you got to get in these calories immediately following workout because you got to replenish protein. I think that was just a suggestion that you'd be better off, getting this much in. And, for me, because I normally don't eat anything in that window, I felt more. So I haven't looked at it and thought, all right, well, I'm going to put on more muscle because I'm getting 26 grams of protein within a 30-minute window. Like,
oh no, it's 32 minutes. I'm losing gains.
Well, and you hear all the old wives' tales or whatever. Oh, if you take in more than 30 grams of protein, you just pee out the rest. I'm like, what? Like, what? No.
Pretty sure it's not peeing either.
Yeah, or could come. Well, yeah, I guess. But anyway, so I guess my point, like we're talking about training and competition, and I'm with you. It's 120 days to be the guinea pig, and I think that's kind of the point, is finding what works. And right now, like what they have me doing is far more carb heavy than I'm used to and more fat heavy than I'm used to.
Interesting.
And I'm struggling to get in the fats. Like, it's, well, yeah.
That's and Justin's peanut butter packets.
I know. Well, I've did that some. I messaged in the night and I'm like, man, off 40 grams in fat. I guess I got to eat some peanut butter, why not? Let's jump in. But I think it is, kind of tweaking it to see what's going to work for me to get through Wodapalooza. And I'm also not drinking, so that kind of sucks. I'll make up for that in Wodapalooza.
Life is dull. Yeah, we'll have plenty of drink. Do you remember at Wodapalooza this past year where we were, some might argue, intoxicated before 10 a.m.?
Oh, not me. No. I do tequila shots for breakfast all the time.
I was just like, what is going on? That was such a terrible day.
No, yeah. Where were we? We were at that bar.
I was just like, this is not going to be a good start to the day. Like,
no, it's fine. This is fitness nutrition. We're talking about nutrition. What was the name of the place? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh,
it had a funny name.
Horrendous restaurant.
Bacon something? I think Bacon Bitch.
Bacon Bitch, yeah.
Bacon Bitch. Yes, that's what it was called. And they had these waitresses dressed like they were Hooters waitresses, which I guess was their thing. I don't know. I mean, hey, work where you want. It's just felt like a weird thing, brunch and booty shorts, And then who in your party knew the person that was giving us the tequila shots? How many rounds of tequila shots did we get? 2 or 3?
Too many. Just too many. That's a blanket answer. All I remember is leaving that restaurant, that establishment, looking down at my watch and being like, how is the rest of this day going to go?
Well, I think I remember I wasn't trying to drink on that trip either. I was I was working on some nutrition stuff at the time. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go through Miami without drinking. And that was a total lie to myself. And it'd be a lie if I said I was doing it again this year, that I'm drinking when we get down there, but I'm not drinking currently because it doesn't fit my macros very much.
Well, speaking of like training versus competing, I've talked about, I mentioned actually without even like realizing that was today's subject, is like you treat yourself as a guinea pig. And I think that's what's so important in training is where you take risks or tweak things about your nutrition, about your rep scheme, about your gear, about your alcohol consumption. I mean, heck, how do you know that alcohol before a workout is a bad idea? The only way you're going to know is if you try it. So
tried it. I've tried it.
So what's so cool about training is like, you can use it as a time and place to take chances and take risks. Oftentimes I see people in CrossFit gyms, and we've talked about this with our recent WOD Pro launch. Everybody goes to the CrossFit gym and they just try to beat everybody else on the whiteboard, and that's it. All they do is they work out to get their best score ever. And something that I know CJ writes, and I know he's going to be one of our guests in my absence in September. But one thing that CJ does all the time is he will write specific rep schemes, be like, you need to do this part unbroken. Okay. Like that is the point of the workout. So adjust all other stimulus to do this unbroken. And he'll practice touch and go reps. So he'll practice stuff that won't necessarily get you your best score time wise. However, it's going to help you practice so that maybe one day it will. And I think that's really cool about like the actual training is this is your chance to see what something different is like whether it's like, for instance, if I was practicing grace, I might see if I could get a better score doing 20 reps unbroken into 10 reps unbroken. See if that is better for me than doing 30 singles, stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah. Yeah.
But you can't do that if all you're always trying to do is go the conservative route and say, I'm going to try to get my best score. So that's what I really like. And with you, John, having that, however many months away we are from the competition right now, it's just like, it's the perfect time for you to change one variable. I would only change one variable at a time. But change one variable, see how it goes, take some notes, have a training journal, and then apply what works and get rid of what doesn't. And I think that's a problem for a lot of people when it comes to competition day. And sorry if you can hear Murphy, he's chasing a squirrel in his dream in the background. Murphy, get the squirrel, get it. Or it could be a cow. We just got back from a weekend of cows and chipmunk chasing. So people, when they compete, they'll have like this competition the next day. And so what do? They go to bed way earlier than normal. They eat a breakfast that's 3 times bigger than they normally do. They maybe take supplements they weren't ever going to take. They try they will change so many different variables because it's competition day and they view it as this like special occasion, when in reality, a lot of people would do so much better if they just treated competition day as a normal day of working out where they just need to eat maybe a little bit more calories. And I think I see that a lot in the open is people they'll do like a Friday night lights or something like that, but they're used to training at 5 a.m. and they wonder why they feel so terrible during the open. It's like competition is that you should have already tested most things and all the different variables, pre-workout nutrition, rep schemes, gear. So competition is where you stay in your comfort zone and then you just push the effort to the max. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. And we're doing some of that with the training. Like, you said just change one variable, but one of the variables we're looking at and that I've been looking at is taking on objects or machines that I don't normally work because they could show up,
Yep.
So you could break it down to simply saying do the things you don't like to do. Right.
Yeah, that works. It's a great strategy. If you want to get better at CrossFit, that one liner is key. Do things that you don't like doing more often.
Well, I did them all this weekend. One of the workouts, we got to pick the machine. So I'm like, well, let's do a ski erg because I don't ski erg much, and I have to get good at it. And then it was a long workout. So I knew it'd be a lot of ski erg and it was. And then the next day we did a workout that had a boatload of sandbag cleans and sandbag lunges, which I'd actually never done before in any capacity. And it was brutal. I don't like them. They're dusty and heavy as hell. But if they show up now, at least I know what it feels like.
Yep.
And we're going to continue to work them.
I'm pretty sure there were ski ergs in the gauntlet last year, and that was the second workout I had ever used a ski erg. Like not even like second competition, second workout ever. I had used a ski erg once ever previously. So you could definitely tell if there's any footage of that. It is rough.
Well, it's always interesting to me. Like, I have a ski erg at home, so it's even more criminal that I don't do it enough. But my form's all over the place. You know what I mean? Like I'm swimming, like, doing big circles sometimes. Sometimes I'm pulling it back like skis, but I'm going all the way back to the Himalayas behind me. Sometimes I'm reaching as high as I can possibly reach and as low as I can possibly go. And other times I'm sitting there just jerking those things like a 16-year-old boy. It's terrible. It's terrible. I should probably cut that before we put this on Apple. Anyway.
Man, I can't recover from that. I had a point. I was going to say I like to use mine as a tricep extension. I just sit there and Try to get a nice
Yeah, that works
tricep
too.
pump.
That
Little
absolutely works too, you
the
know?
dual tricep push down extension thing.
Well, my point my point is like, you know, I forget how many rounds I ended up doing in this workout. It had to have been at least had it broken into 15 calories at a time. So it's a little over a minute for me. And I want to say I did 4 or 5. We got 4 or 5 rounds of rowing in over the course of this workout. And every round I'm like every fourth stroke's different than the others. I'm like, man, this is why you got to work on it.
Yep.
You know? Yeah,
Yep.
just sucked. So anyway, so we're trying to, that's one of the variables we've changed, is like adding in those objects. And then, you know, from a kind of a scale and bale standpoint, I'm taking your advice, even though I'm not going to tell you you're right. And I'm basically doing CrossFit 4 days a week at my affiliate, but I'm scaling it. So regardless what the RX is, I'm pulling it back because I'm adding in 2 additional workouts a week, one of which is guaranteed to be gauntlet-esque, like really long, you know, to prepare me for that. And so getting in those 2 extra sessions and what's arguably going to be at least another full hour worth of fitness, probably, if not 2 hours in some cases, like it was this weekend, I feel like those other 4, I have to pull back quite a bit.
Yeah. How do you feel? Like, I mean, is your
Uh,
body
yeah, not bad, to be honest. Like here's the hard part about scaling is when you know you can do more and it feels like you're cheating to some degree, and you know, the ego, it's hard to keep your ego in check. Looking around and everybody else is doing 135 and I know I can too and still compete. And then at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but my volume's more right now. So here's an example of what I did today. We had they programmed, they called it light double DT. So 10 rounds of DT is the workout. The RX was 115. I think for the women it was 85, which is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I ended up doing, instead of doing it for time and doing it at their 115, I was like, I want to practice barbell cycling and breathing with the barbell. And at 85 pounds, I can move that barbell pretty quick, you know, because breathing is a struggle for me. And I was also looking at their weight at 115 I knew was going to be far too heavy. Basically what I do in these situations for AMRAP or for a workout like this one, I calculate total weight moved. And I forget the exact total weight, but if you did 5 rounds of normal DT at 155, which is the RX, you would have moved, we'll call it 4,100 pounds of weight over all the reps. If you did 10 rounds at 115, it was actually 1,000 pounds more.
Oh yeah, believe it.
You know, and so I'm like, all right, well, I need to find a weight that's measurable versus DT where I wanted to be. And so I pulled it all the way back to 85 to get me close, you know, over 10 rounds. And it sucked, but to your point, I don't feel beat up now.
Yeah, I think one of the hard things to do for people who go to a traditional gym and just, again, do the whiteboard training is, one, they like to, you know, compete every day in the sense of always trying to get the best score. But 2, they compete every day by always giving 100%. And that's another thing that CJ programs for us inside of WOD Prep Pro is percentage-based effort or perceived effort, where it's like, hey, today you're going through this 30-minute AMRAP at 80% pace or 75%. And it's just like, what? Like, it's crazy to not try to go as fast as possible, but it's a skill, and it actually really helps you move with higher quality, and especially when it's woven into your normal training schedule and training program, it's a great way to stay not beat up.
So I'm very curious about this topic because I just had this discussion with a master's athlete at my affiliate, and I'm dying to know what your answer is because I know what I told him. It's probably terrible advice on my part. So how many days a week should you be given, or a month, or any time frame should you be giving 100% effort? And on those other days, how much should you be pulling back to? Just, you know, broadly speaking.
Oh man, there's so many it depends woven into that. But
just give me your biggest depends.
Let's say 100% max effort. Again, assuming varied exercise, not the same thing. I would say like a couple times a week. That's about it. That's all I got. And that's really a shot in the dark. I would ask CJ about that when you have him on the show.
Maybe I will. Are you thinking of masters athletes for that? Or are you thinking someone that's just a baby like you?
I mean, that's kind of a generalization for everyone. Yeah, a couple times a week. And when I say max effort, I mean like
Yeah, laying on the floor when the workout's over.
Laying on the
red
floor.
line.
Yeah, redlining. Yeah, I'd say a couple times a week.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, again, I'm only speaking for me. This isn't necessarily advice, but I'm telling you what works for me. So I told the guy the workout was over and it was a hard workout. And he's like, why aren't you laying on the floor? And I said to him, because I was only given 70% effort. And he like looked at me weird. And I'm like, bro, I don't go to red line anymore. Like I go to red line maybe once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I need to remember what it feels like, because the open's coming. And the open's 3 weeks, once a week, if you're only doing it once, of getting that red line. Like you have to know how to get to the dark place. But if you do it every day, you're really going to impact performance. So I do it maybe once every 2 weeks at the most. And then the rest of the workouts, I never get above 90% ever. I usually hover somewhere between 75 and 85 and tell myself through the entire thing, you're training, not competing.
Yeah, that's a good mantra to repeat to yourself because it's so easy to forget. Yeah, for me, I especially back in more competitive days. I mean, last week, how many times did I go to max effort? 0. Week before that, 0. This week, probably 0 because I'm just hiking a bunch. But actually when I go and hit sessions at the gym, yeah, there's normally, I think, maybe 1 or 2 times per week where, yeah, I just lay it all on the floor for that specific Metcon, or let's say it's like a 1 rep max or basically a maximal effort lift of some sort. Yeah, I think it's important to expose yourself to it, but I do think that while we have kind of differing views, the one thing we do agree on is not every day. And the old school CrossFit mantra is like, let's meet Pukey every day. Like, how hard can we make it, and who's gonna lay on the ground for a longer period of time afterwards? And it's just it has its place in time, but it shouldn't be every single day, because I don't think it promotes proper recovery. It probably doesn't promote proper pacing. Like even athletes at the games, right? Like they will win events and they didn't necessarily redline to win the dang thing.
Well, I don't think we have differing views, for the record. I'm only speaking for what's currently working for me, but I do think masters athletes should take into account when you go, because I think, to your point, I probably could go to the red line twice a week and be okay. That's assuming I'm a good CrossFitter and have good form, and I'm not going to potentially injure myself. And that's where I have again, speaking for me, I've traditionally had some sort of tweak or injury or whatever, is when I'm going to redline and my form goes to crap. And there are a lot of people out there that can go to redline and their form doesn't change that much. I'm not one of those people. I know my limitations. Not that my form's stellar anyway, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're that far off in our opinions. No. But you're the pro, not me. I'm just going to keep doing my 75% each day and feel good about myself.
No, I'll keep doing it. And a commenter just mentioned that when they program, they prescribe a stimulus and a percentage. So they describe what stimulus and have a specific percentage. So gym that I used to go to, that's a little bit west of here in Denver, CrossFit Vantage, and I still drop in from time to time. Love that place because Coop, the guy who writes the programming, who's fantastic at it, he writes workouts where basically every time there's a barbell or something that can be percentage based, he does it percentage based. So it's crazy because I'll be working out next to, let's say, a soccer mom that started CrossFit last week, and we'll, assuming they have a percentage established, we'll still finish the workout at roughly the same time, even though I'm cleaning 185 pounds for reps and she's cleaning the trainer bar for reps. We're still finishing at the same time, which I find magical. Like, that's awesome. We're getting similar stimulus because percentage work scales up for the athlete who needs it and scales down for the athlete who needs it. Yep. So not everyone can pull it off, but I think it can be used very, very well at an affiliate rather than just prescribed weight, because let's say that workout has cleans and it's prescribed weight of 135, and because that's for like maybe the general population, I can come in and move that weight super easily, and it's like not even a hard workout, right? So it's interesting how
Right.
like there are sometimes like, oh, program a percentage, and I'm like, excuse me, like how how heavy am I supposed to be doing that? And sometimes it's off. Like, there's one time where they programmed a percentage based clean, and they're like, yeah, you should probably be doing this set of 15 and like 1 to 2 sets, and I'm like, excuse me, I will be doing singles. Is that okay? Like, because I have to do 225 pounds or some nonsense. And but as long as the workout is somewhat intelligently programmed, it really really does a good job. And I think people from a wide array of spectrums of abilities can really get a great workout in.
I love percentage based programming. Love it. We use Wodify, and it will tell you what your percentages should be, which is so like they'll program, do their normal programming. But if you have like I don't know, like the other day we were doing strict presses, and so I was like, the coach wasn't programming where you should be exactly, but I asked him, I'm like, where should I be on this? It was like 4x8 if I remember right, and he's like around 70%, and I'm like, all right, and I didn't know if that was high or low for that kind of a rep scheme, but I had Wodify to go to, and it could do the math for me. And I knew my 1 rep max, and it told me to do what the weight was. And it was pretty damn accurate because it was all I could do for that,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I want to circle back to something you said. You said you'd be hiking a couple of days, and that effort, or that, going to Redline would be zero for you for those days. Do you ever look at the volume? Like you also mentioned earlier, it's like a 10-mile hike and a 15-mile hike. Like, do you view that as zero, or do you count that in as like kind of a different type of red line, like a volume red line?
Oh, from a red line perspective, I view it as like when I think of the term red line, I think of essentially a pace at which you can't hold on before collapsing essentially
Right.
for more than, let's say, a minute or something like that. Like that's what I deem redlining. So like redlining is like you come to the end of a workout and then you put absolutely every bit of effort that you can until failure occurs. And whether that's failure in form, whether that's failure in being able to complete the rep, or failure in, you black out. I don't know. That's never happened to me, but, or cramping up, or
Sure.
whatever. So while I won't be going to red line in the woods, absolutely I will be accumulating volume. And that's why I really haven't been to the gym very much to train, because I'm not in the window anymore where I can like get more fit for this. It's more of like, when you don't have to work out, don't, because you need to be recovering, because these 10 to 15-mile days will put a crazy amount of wear and tear on my feet, on my knees, on my hips, on my all my leg muscles, my core, my shoulders, because I'm carrying a heavy pack. Hopefully, there's going to be a couple, 5-mile round trip efforts with 100 pounds plus in the backpack going one way, because if you
Right.
load it down with meat, like I fully am prepared to face, or I think I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared to face the most challenging physical feat of my entire life, and that would be packing out a big elk, for multiple miles on terrain that doesn't have trails on it. Like that's going to be the hardest physical demanding thing ever. But that's the thing about walking, you don't really redline, because you can always pretty much take one step and put it in front of the next. So it's so interesting. You learn about pacing when you're doing that. So if I have a really fast pace, then I'll get to the point where I have to stop. But if I keep a nice slow steady pace and just put one foot in front of the other, I feel like I can go all day long. And I literally will move all day long. So it's just an interesting thing about like pacing. When it comes to hiking, we're just talking about like half a mile an hour changes. Can you do this for 6 hours a day, or could you do this for 20 minutes a day?
Sure.
So interesting how playing around with the pacing makes you last a lot longer. In terms of allocating for volume, no, because this is no longer training, right? This is what I would call the competition. So I
Right.
hike however far I need to hike. But I do know that I'm going to put myself in position to hopefully not have to break the 10-mile mark every single day, because a lot of people, they're classic failures. They get into the elk woods, they send it, 12 miles, 15 miles, 12 miles, and then 3 days in, they're absolutely trashed, blisters on their feet, rolled ankles, like bloody, like they're just
Right.
injured, and then that prevents them from finishing out the rest of the season. So for me, it's like if if I'm ever trying to keep up with a hunting partner, rather than be like I'm gonna keep up and I'm gonna walk as fast as I can to keep up with Gary, or I'm gonna you know walk as fast as I can just because I can. I'm always gonna be like, nope, let's tone it down 2 notches. Like if I can hold the conversation, even though we won't be talking because that would be stupid, scare away
Right.
the animals. But if I could hold the conversation, that's a good sign that I'm walking at approximately the right pace.
Well, I just think of accumulating volume kind of like I've been thinking about this red line. Like you got the red line for your sprint, so let's just say you go do Fran, and you can go as hard as you can for two, however long it takes you. For you, it's 2 minutes. For me, it'd be more like five, and or however long it would take. And when you're done, you're laying in a heap on the ground, legs hurt, grips gone, dying. And then for the next 15 minutes, you pay for it. Or you could pull, if you do Fran a second time, you're probably still kind of in sprint mode and you can still get to that place. But if you do it a third time, back to back to back, now you're in volume. And so now I think of that in terms of my week of going, all right, right now I've added in 2 workouts. How much work is too much before I've got to start determining longer rest days, changing up the training? And so that was kind of my question about the walking. 15 miles is it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of hours spent working.
Yeah, and hopefully there are 0 15-mile days this year. That's the game plan. But yeah, it's a ton of work, and that's why I mentioned like eating is a full-time job almost on those days. But so is foot maintenance, like making like as soon as you think about maybe potentially blisters developing, you stop and take care
You're
of
you're not
it.
about to do a Toe Spacers ad, are you? Because they didn't pay us squat.
No, I
Oh,
did not
okay.
bring those spacers to the woods. But
I think you can make a lot of money on OnlyFans with your feet, though. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I was told booty pics, but I'll
Well,
consider it. Foot, feet, and booty. I'll take it into account.
your 2 best attributes, is that what they are?
Yes, for sure.
This 3,100 calories a day you're eating while you're doing this. And you said it's really hard. Are you changing? Like, I know it's different than what you eat during the week, but have you structured the macros to fit that? Kind of like I've changed my macros to go into this competition, or is it just, hey, I just got to get the calories in?
No, I do pay attention to the macros. Let me pull it up really quick. Actually, I have a spreadsheet that I made that I think you would actually get a kick out of this.
Savannah's on. She gave you a little hug on the screen. Say hi, Savannah.
Hi, Savannah.
Savannah's the vice president of customer happiness at WODprep.
She's not the vice president. She is the president.
She also says Ben has especially pretty feet, which off air we'll discuss how she knows that, but I'll take her at her word.
I'll remind me never to wear flip flops around Savannah. I didn't realize she was creeping.
Hey, you never know.
So here I have a day where it actually shakes out to 3,260 calories, 122 grams of fat, 387 grams of carbohydrates, and 133 grams of protein. And that day cost me $30.21, and it weighs 2 pounds 1 ounce.
It's lower in the protein I thought you would be. Any reason for that?
Honestly, because you have to bring more weight of protein for more calories. So like high calorie food is going to be that fats. And then what you're actually using as you're hiking, carbohydrates. Like when I'm moving, it's carbs, right? And then recovery is where that protein comes into play and is used. So yeah, I've actually played around with like adding a scoop for 25 grams more of protein. But the bottom line is I'll lose muscle. Like I know that for a fact. I will lose muscle while I'm out there. The main thing is will I have the muscles fed with the carbs to keep moving? And will I have the calories to refuel my body, which really is like these high density fat packets are really, really helpful for. So it probably could be optimized a little bit more, but if I brought a ton of jerky, that's just hard to digest. It's hard to bring enough to actually make a difference in terms of your total. Like if I try to really up the calories and the protein, and and not increase my weight, then my calories are going to go way, way down. So yeah.
It's just always so interesting to me how, macros and calories, everything's so tailored to an individual, and the goals you're trying to achieve. So in this case, you kind of have, two things you're working with, three things really, if you count, you've got to protect space too, since you're
Correct.
going to be carrying a
Space
pack.
and weight are very key here.
See, that'd be my problem. I'd have a backpack full of Rice Krispie treats and they take up so much space, but they're really light. So it's a weird trade-off, but lots of calories, marshmallows, butter, sugar. Can't go wrong.
Maybe you could find helium injected Rice Krispie treats. That would be amazing. Have a weightless backpack.
This has nothing to do with your training, but when you're out on this thing, where are you guys staying? Are you like in a cabin? Is it like
tent?
Are you glamping?
No. Bring a tent.
Like a pop-up tent?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm carrying a spike tent, but yeah, like it's got 2 poles and it fits me and my 2 dogs, and it'll just be me. Dogs aren't coming hunting; they're not very good at it, or they are. They just make too much noise. And yeah, so I'm carrying backpack. I'm carrying water filter. You basically carry your life for a few days on your backpack.
I feel like I need photographic evidence of this tent once you have it set up. I need to see this because
you're gonna love it. It's pink.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a pink tent because I went to the mountaineering store in Boulder, Neptune Mountaineering, and they have like some hunting tents. They have a bunch of tents, and they were kind of out of the hunting tent that I wanted, which is made by this really expensive brand, Hillenberg. And they were like, actually, like, I mean, if you're in the market for Hillenberg, you should check out Samaya. It's like a Swiss Alps, like top of the line, like more waterproof, lighter. It's like the best of the best. And I was just like, all right, cool. Like I'll take their 2-person tent. And it comes out and it's freaking pink. I'm like, do you guys have the blue one? They're like, nope. I'm just like, whatever. Like I'm not waiting. I need it today. I need it tomorrow. So I got it. And it's a really sweet tent. It's nice.
I'm at that place in my life, Ben, where, I was raised in the South and I've done a lot of hunting and camping and fishing and whatever. And I'm at that place in my life where I still think I'm that outdoorsy guy, but I know I'm not that outdoorsy guy. And I'd probably die in the woods with you in a pink tent. And that'd be my tombstone. Here lies John, died in a pink tent,
Yeah, it was cool. Like the 2 nights ago, Murph, Maddie, and I, we hiked to the top of this ridge. There wasn't another human being within probably, 10 miles of us, maybe more. Hiked all the way to the top of this peak and like pitched my tent, and it was storming. And it's cool. You're literally living in nature. Like that's it. You and your bare bone essentials, living in nature. And with me, I have my best friends, my dogs. So it was great. And then this season, I'll be going like with another human being, my buddy Gary, and then my brother Drew is flying out. But yeah, it really makes you like it's very similar to CrossFit in a way where like you really have to be strategic because you need to figure out how far can you go, where are you setting up, how much are you bringing on your back. Like it very much ties into like what kind of gear do you bring and what's your rep scheme and like all this pre-planning that I like to geek out about when it comes to CrossFit. And I think that's what makes me like, that's why WOD Prep exists, is I like to geek out over the strategy and the workouts. I'm realizing how much that carries over into hunting. And basically, if you don't have a plan, you are planning to fail. And that's what happens with a lot of these competitions. Well, it's absolutely what's going to happen in the woods.
So. Now that I know you're actually in the woods in a tent, I have so many questions.
Well, ask. We got another couple minutes.
Yeah, we got a little time here.
I'm not going to be here for another month because
how much toilet paper do you have to pack in with you?
Blending. I have like 3/4 of a roll, and I also have some like biodegradable wet wipes.
Oh, that's way more than I needed to know. Without going into too much gritty detail, what do you like? Dig a little hole? Like, what do you do?
That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah.
That's not what you actually do.
I'll be honest. No, I'm not a hole digger. I mean, all the animals just do it out in the open. So does Ben.
I hope Ben gets some poison ivy on his butthole. We'll see what happens.
Technically,
Man,
technically a true backpacker, and I've done this before. Don't get me wrong. A true backpacker, you dig a hole, and then you also pack out the products that you use. You literally carry it out.
Yeah, that wouldn't happen. That's absolutely not going to happen. So, how much fuel are you bringing in, or are you making fire like cavemen?
I won't make any fires because too high a chance to spook the elk. And most years you're not supposed to have fires. This year's been really wet, so we could probably get away with it, but I'm not going to mess with any fires. And then I have like a little propane burner called a jet boil, and you can boil water in like 60 seconds. It boils water, and then I pour the boiling water inside of my like little freeze dried meals, and then you stir it up, and then 10 minutes later it's cooked and ready to go.
Sounds delicious.
They are freaking delicious. There was a time not too long ago where I was like, man, what am I gonna have for dinner? And I was like, I could make up one of those freeze dried meals. And I was just like, no, Ben, that's a new low. Being too lazy to cook meal and actually just eating a freeze dried dinner. That would be a total bachelor move.
You're talking to the guy that'll go to the grocery store and then DoorDash dinner in the same day, So,
I mean that's an average.
The height of laziness over here. That's cool, dude. I didn't realize this was actually so outdoorsy of you.
Oh yeah, I'm like last year. I think I did the longest stint I did without coming out of the woods. I think was 7 days because you do run out of food. Like if you do really long stints, then it's like how much food can you carry in? And since we want to be kind of mobile and like basically like pitch a tent, hunt that ridge, hunt that area, pack it back up, move to another ridge. Like we're just going to be jumping mountains basically and not going back to the truck. Like probably 5 or 6 miles deep and just kind of following the elk. And then eventually when you run out of food, because you never run out of water because you have filters and you just take it out. You see a pool of water, you filter it, and then now you have water.
You've obviously never been to Detroit or Cleveland.
Well, I've had people in Detroit or Cleveland use life straws and use Sawyer camping products to help them drink the water. And then eventually when we start running low on food, it's like, all right, like tomorrow morning or, this afternoon, let's head back to the truck. And you go back to the truck. You always just like restock at the truck and then just go back out. Or a lot of times what Gary and I did last year is we would be so tired and demoralized if we'd go to the truck, drive into town, eat a cheeseburger, and then drive back. But we're hunting a lot more remotely this time. So just the dirt road, like I'm on a dirt road for a couple hours, and then the dirt road turns into a 4-wheel drive road. And just that 4-wheel drive road is an hour and 50 minutes. And then you have to hike in 5 miles. So I am back there.
Are you guys hunting from tree stands or are you no. Just always from the ground? So always over ridges and that sort of thing?
Yep.
Bow or gun?
Bow.
Oh, damn, man. Talk about making it hard on yourself. Do you have to carry a handgun to hunt there?
No.
Are you allowed to?
You should. Yeah, you definitely can. My buddy Gary will have his. He'll be strapped. But we're not in grizzly bear country, and so far we're not in wolf country, although a lot of the idiots around me in Denver voted to introduce wolves, even though every biologist said not to. Like,
will wolves attack humans? I have no idea.
They're not going to really attack humans. They're going to kill a lot of people's dogs, and they're going to kill a lot of cattle, and they're going to kill a lot of elk for fun, because that's what they do. So thank you for everyone who voted to reintroduce wolves in Colorado. You are stupid and I don't like you. Unsubscribe now.
Yeah, I'm sure we just have a huge influx of
we're going to have a big falling out, John.
No, it's just interesting to me, some states require you to carry guns from, like you're hunting with a bow. I mean, obviously that's a weapon, but it's not a very, you get.
I'm not going to stop a grizzly bear very quickly.
You get one shot and it won't take them down with one shot unless you're, Green Arrow.
If I hunt in Idaho and Wyoming and Montana, which, I'm going to go for at least one of those next year, I definitely will be carrying a handgun and probably bear spray, but also gun spray.
Man, you're so manly, Ben. I lead such a calm life, just me and my cat. I'm like a cat lady. You're out here like Grizzly Adams. What the hell?
Yeah.
How did this become my life? I don't
I don't
know.
know, man, but obviously, regardless of when the next podcast is, I'm definitely gonna have some stories for you. Hopefully, it's not. Yep, 2 days in, my truck broke down. I'm stranded, and I just said screw it and let's do a podcast.
I
Hopefully, I
feel,
come back in a month with lots and lots of stories.
I feel like I'm in this relationship with you, Ben, and like you sold yourself on a bill of goods that isn't true. Like when I first met you, you're like, "Oh, I drive a Tesla, bro, and I like to snowboard, and it's all chill, and I also like to ride my bike through the mountains." And now you're like, "Yeah, I'm driving my huge Toyota Tundra. We hiking through the woods with a handgun on my side and my trusty bow." Like,
I
you're like a
like
different
all the
person.
above, man. All the above. I love the backpack snowboarding, and I also love the backpack hunting. And I love my Tesla Model Y performance, and I also love my beat up. As it was brand new about a couple weeks ago, it looked brand new, but now it is officially a beat up Nissan Frontier after a week and a half of driving.
Man, well, I'm just impressed. Just it's good, you know.
I
I'm
like
not
to do I like to do things outside of the gym. That's something that I think is very, very, very important when it comes to CrossFit. Like if it wasn't for CrossFit, and it wasn't for all the training and things that I've learned in the gym, I definitely would not be able to go and do this outside the gym. And that's why like all of my hunting buddies are avid CrossFitters. So they really go hand in hand because like it just prepares you for everything. It prepares you for the grueling physical and mental challenges that you can face out in the woods, whether you're backcountry snowboarding or mountain biking or hunting. Like it helps you learn how to deal with high intensity moments, long duration moments, and just physical pain, basically.
yeah, you'll definitely will have experienced worse than hiking through those woods, you would hope.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I'm never going hunting with you, but I will go fly fishing. I got a message from that buddy of yours is a fly fisher, so we have to
Let's.
talk about that at some point.
Yes, the guy that I met at the archery shop,
Yeah.
correct? Heck yeah, and he's going to be my best friend because not only did he come up to me and say, "Hey, are you Ben?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I met a couple CrossFitters at the archery shop, so I was like, "All right, cool." He does CrossFit. He's like, "I was just listening to Scale and Bale on the archery range," and I'm like, "What?" Like that's crazy. So he's a big Scale and Bale fan, and yeah, I'm stoked to go hunting with him, and most importantly, learn how to fly fish with him. And then also, you might have to come hunting with me because I think there's talk that I might try to come visit Cleveland in November so I can do some Wadapalooza training with you and hang out with all of your
What,
friends, including
what
Tom, who also hunts.
what's bringing you to Cleveland? Just
You,
me?
obviously,
Just
yeah,
me? Okay.
yeah.
Come on, let's do it. It'll be fun. You can train with me.
I'll see what Cleveland's all about.
Dude, I got all kind of trips coming up. I'm looking forward to hitting a lot of different affiliates and seeing what people are doing. And then in between there, destroying myself with these crazy workouts at Chagrin Falls CrossFit on the weekends and Crooked River during the week. So
Nice, very nice,
I'm too old for this shit, bro.
exciting.
All
Well,
right. So
I'm excited.
when do you get back from your trip? So everyone knows they can tune us out for the next 4 weeks while me and a guest host are on.
my I'll put it to you this way. I blocked out my calendar until October 1st. I've
Oh,
canceled
wow.
all meetings and everything until October 1st. There is a chance definitely that I'll come out for a few days here or there. If there is one that happens to be on a Monday, I'll hit you up. But as soon as this, actually I have a couple meetings tomorrow morning, but as soon as those meetings are over, then it's hunting only mode until October 1.
I think the listeners, people who watch this on YouTube, were hoping you'd dial in from the woods, like the Blair Witch Project. You'd be like under a tarp. I think he's coming for me.
If I
Well,
had service, I could maybe do it, but there's no service anywhere near where I am.
you got the life, bro. You have the life. I love it. I'm jealous. You'll enjoy it. We'll have who's gonna be on? CJ and Joe, maybe Joe. We're gonna try to get on some of the coaches from Wed Prep, and
And
I'm gonna get on Jen and Tom from B2 Human that are helping with some of this nutrition stuff and talk about
nice,
the actual science behind what they're doing.
rather than just all the stuff that you spew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Besides me just talking about how to chug down peanut butter to get to the fat ratio.
And then what about Dave from RX Smart Gear?
Yep. We're gonna have Dave from Arc Smart Gear on to talk.
I just got a package. I believe it's their beaded rope because he saw a video that I posted of me using like a heavy cable, and he's like, "No, no, no, don't do that for double under crossovers."
Well,
So
it may be because I messaged him. When did I message him? Right after maybe our last episode, where I told you somebody had sent me a DM and said they weren't going to try RX's crossover. They wanted you to do it, and so I was telling him we gave him a shout out on the show.
oh gosh.
So now you got a new rope. So now you can prove you're better than him. Be good.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely not good at them. I tried them for the first time ever the other day. I was able to get a few done on playing around with the rope length and how, like, I had a problem where I wasn't really extending my arms across my body, but like once I started picking up on patterns, I was able to do them, and then I had to stop shooting videos. But I'm excited to try them with the beaded rope that Dave sent me. So
You know what we should do sometime? I know this is a very random thought and we need to wrap up, but we need to figure out how to get your webcam into your gym
I could do that.
and
Easy.
do the podcast that way, and you can demonstrate some of these movements for people. I think that'd be cool.
I could do that easy peasy. I could do it right with my laptop and just slide it right into the studio, get the lighting on.
And zero chance I'll do that in my home gym. So it's all going to be you, bro. All you.
Yeah, let's do it. I'd be totally down to do that in October.
All right. When you're back, after you've harvested all the elk you can harvest.
Depending on how the season goes, I might just never come back. I might just be like, hey, John, I'm out, and then just like go live in the woods the rest of my life.
Wait, how many tags do you have? Just one?
Just one. But
So if you go on day one, you're going to be back before October.
no, I'll be out there with Gary trying to fill his tag, and then if miraculously we fill 2 tags somehow, then in theory, yes, I could be back early until my brother gets out on the 19th. But I've been doing pre-scouting for him, so I'd just say don't hold your breath.
I wasn't
I'm
going
not very good at it yet. Let's just
say I've seen your record. I'm not holding my breath. You'll be fine. You never know.
I'm 0-1 so far. So, and Gary's 0-3. So hopefully we can bring it home.
All right. Well, fingers crossed. Well, good luck. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And for everyone listening, I think we've said it. I'm gonna say it this week. Like and subscribe. Hit us up if you're watching this on YouTube, hit us up on your favorite app. We're on all the channels, Spotify, Google, Apple, you name it, we're on it. Go subscribe there so you can get the most recent content. We'll have some guest hosts over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then Ben will be back in October. So for everyone listening, appreciate you guys joining.